Well, when was the first time you got to actually hear them play?
I saw them at the Troubadour, and it was at that time probably the loudest thing I'd seen in L.A. for sure. Not as loud as Ted Nugent at McNichols Arena on Halloween of 1978, but I had that same reaction as when I saw Gauntlet. I'm like, I want to join that band.
Wow.
Holy shit. And luckily for me, Axel had this sort of idea in his head that they were going to need a keyboard player someday. And we would sort of like go back and forth between each other's, studios. There was crazy stuff going on in that parking lot every night, cool, fun parties and whatnot. A lot of riffraff coming off the streets, and it wasn't easy, but I remember he somehow ended up on my keyboard riser, sleeping, and it was time for me to rehearse, so I thought I would just start playing and wake up, right? And I this is how I remember it. I started playing Bad Company, the song, right? And he arose to that, and I think that's when he had the idea maybe that I would be the right guy, because there weren't a lot of keyboard players back then, and if there were, the ones that were playing around, they were classically trained, sort of progressive, not that sort of bluesy glam street rock that I liked and that they liked. So that worked out really good. I don't know about fate and all that stuff and timing, but it's you create your own luck to a degree, right? So if you're a dick to everybody, you're not going to have as much luck. You're just not. If you're cool, then you're probably going to have some better chances. So that's and of course without compromising, yourself or whatnot. But funny thing is, like, when we had that studio, we so my band, The Wild, we were called. We would partition time to rehearse, to practice, right? So we just got the studio for an hour every day, and we'd always have the drummer go first, because then we wake up, so this is after being up all night, because he would just come in and start doing cadence on his snare drum. It's like you're gonna pop up and get the hell out of there. So when it was my turn, I said, I just want to be alone, so I'd concentrate and close the door. And I had this Roland Juno 60 that had a sequencer built in. And I'd program in scales, and I'd hit play, and I'd go back to sleep. There we go. Oh, wow, man, he's really tight, And I got busted eventually, but that's what I think of practicing.
I love it. And did you at that time jam with the Guns N' Roses guys? And was the Guns N' Roses at that time? Was it the Tracy Guns, or was it actual?
No,
core?
it was the lineup. Lineup. The first guy I met was Steven. Because we were still in that little studio, and the studio was on the market for available for rent. And Stephen had read the ad, and he walked in when we were in the middle of jamming, and then he brought the other guys down, and then I met Axel probably a couple nights later for the first time. So we didn't really. There was no sort of inner jamming, I don't think. I'm not sure, but my band at that time, we were very sort of pop oriented, I guess. A lot of harmonies, very, very bubblegum. So I think in their eyes, maybe, I don't know, it wasn't cool. We changed eventually, we sort of got into more sort of street sounding things and rock and roll music, but that's all in the past.
Do you have a record deal with The Wild?
We had a couple deals, but they always fell through for some reason. And I'm not sure why. I think I might know, but I'm not going to say.
And there was a legend that you were asked to join Guns N' Roses prior for a couple shows.
That is true.
Yeah.
Tell
me the story on that.
Well, so Axel had asked all of us if it was cool if I came out and did some shows with them, like playing piano on. I think, I'm not sure where it was. It was a few dates,
And this is what era? This is like around Lies or Appetite?
I don't know. I think it was before. Yeah, I guess they probably just got their deal. Maybe I'm not exactly sure, but so that was all set to go, and I was going out to a young lady's house for dinner out in Pasadena, me and another guy, and we got hit by a drunk driver on the 210, nailed by this guy, smashed into the center divider, and we were like a little Buick Skylark. He was in a big pickup, like a work truck, and next thing I know, they're sawing me out with the jaws of life, and first thing I looked at were my hands, and my thumb was just gone. It was like hamburger.
Bad for a keyboard player.
Bad for a keyboard player. Bad for anyone who's part of a species that relies on our thumbs for a lot of stuff. But so that I was unable to do that tour, but luckily they were able to do some surgery, and although it's like a big toe, I don't have a joint left in there anymore. Actually kind of made me better because I had to play harder, try harder. I will say this though, the Wild, we had a showcase for Bob Ezrin, and it was at the Whiskey, and I think we got the slot. We were opening for Warrant, and Bob came to check us out. I think his daughter liked the band, I think. Don't quote me on that. Maybe fact check me. I don't know. So we were pretty excited about that. And afterwards, we met with them, and he didn't say anything about the music, but he said he congratulated me for being able to pull that off, because my thumb was still messed up. It was in a cast. So I basically did a lot of my, I switched. I did my right-handed parts of my left hand, and did whatever I could, And he thought that was cool. That was his only comment on the show. I'm not sure what that says about what we were doing, but